Okay. Okay, so we are live now. Good evening to everyone, wherever you find yourself. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, any part of the world that you find yourself. Thank you for joining the episode 3 of the Cardano Governance Forum. Today, our topic for discussion will focus on two things. We'll talk about the net change limits in Cardano, and then we'll also look at the Horizon reports. We'll also look at the Horizon report. Okay. So these are what we are our discussion is going to focus on. Let me engage Kwejo since he has joined now. Kwejo, are you good to take it over?
Hi, Nat. Yes, I'm trying to log on with my phone. I'll join soon.
Great. So then let me. So in our discussion, like I mentioned, we'll be looking at the net change limit and then the Horizon report for Project Catalyst. So we're going to do deep dive in that. So I will be doing the presentation on net change limit. I'm Nathaniel Jamina, president of 8Block, or what we call the African Institute for DeFi and Blockchain. So without much ado, let me open my presentation. So this is what I have. Okay. So this is what I have here. Great. So my discussion is going to be on net change limit. Those of us in the Cardano ecosystem, we've heard of what net change limit. We've heard of it. In recent time, there was a governance action on it, and then there was an election on it as well. So we are going to look at it, what it is, and then we'll also look at the latest update on what the net change limit, the governance action that was on, like the latest action on it. So basically, when we say the net change limit, it is a critical governance parameter within the Cardano ecosystem designed to regulate the amount of ADA that can be withdrawn from the Cardano treasury over a specified period, typically 1 year, because 72 epoch. It's also a parameter that is enshrined in the Cardano constitution, introduced as part of the Cardano transitions to decentralized governance during the volatile phase, and then the Shine hard fork in 2024. So the Cardano constitution has a provision that talks about the net change limit. So as I mentioned, it's a parameter that regulates how much should be withdrawn from the Cardano treasury. So it also gives a cap of the total amount that can be withdrawn within the period. So basically, we have an idea. So as to how the amount is set, it is based on the revenue in the treasury, the needs of the ecosystem, and then the market condition. That will determine how much of Cardano should be withdrawn from the treasury. Now, it comes with some features. The features are in 4 categories. So we look at them. The first one is purpose. So in terms of purpose, it balances the ecosystem funding with monetary stability. So it kind of gives us some monetary stability, because anytime you withdraw ADA and there is more ADA in circulation, it also diffuses prices. So the lesser the ADA in circulation, the more the demand on it, and then price can also increase. And then also prevent excessive ADA release, like I'm talking about, excessive ADA release that can lead to inflation and price volatility. Then we look at aligns treasury spending with ecosystem growth and revenue inflow. So the kind of development that is coming into the ecosystem, it aligns with it. So the amount of withdrawal is at par with the kind of development that is going on in the Cardano ecosystem. Now, the second feature is also the governance mechanism. Now, the NCL, which is the net change limit, before it is set, it comes through with a governance action. So you first of all have to propose the amount on the chain, and then it must be rectified by the community. That is, the DREPs and all ADA holders must vote to agree on it before it can be it can be, let's say, let me add, for want of better word, before that amount of money can be withdrawn. Now, any other money that you withdraw and it has not been voted on, it becomes unconstitutional. The time frame, which is the next feature. The time frame is 1 year, which is 72 to 73 epoch. So basically, it's about a year. So that's the time frame for it. And for you to be able to withdraw. Now, with any further withdrawal that you do, and we have not voted on it, it becomes unconstitutional until maybe the period expires. So if, let's say, we agree on a net change limit of maybe 150 million ADA for 2025, 2026, if we will be able to withdraw ADA again from the treasury, then it should be for another period. But within that period that we have voted that we are withdrawing 150 million, any withdrawal that you do in addition to it becomes unconstitutional. And anything that is unconstitutional, it breaches the Cardano constitution and is therefore unlawful. Now, impact on Cardano price or ADA price. Like it was mentioned in the purpose, the treasury withdrawal increase the circulating supply of ADA, which can exert down pressure on price, especially in bearish market condition. So in mitigating something like this, as I've written here, to the withdrawal to a sustained level, with analysis suggesting that withdrawal have a negative impact, but variable impact on price action depending on the size of market on the size and market condition. So what this one does is that if you withdraw too much money from the treasury, it increases the supply of ADA. And the supply of ADA, once it's more in the system or on the market, it gives what you call a downward pressure, which will make the Cardano price fall, and it's not good. And it's even worse when we are even in bearish market. To drive price up, technically, if ADA is the circulating supply of ADA is limited, then more demand on ADA, then it moves price up, or it drives price to go up. Governance processes. How does it work? Like I mentioned earlier, the net change limit is in the constitution of Cardano. So you can find it in Article 4, Section 3, which talks about the net change limit, and also specifies some the way it should be done. And from the constitution, it says you have to make a proposal that you want to maybe make this you make a proposal in a form of a governance action. And in our previous episode, we discussed governance action and how it is proposed. I think the limited amount of money you need is about 10,000, 100,000 ADA to be able to make a proposition. So you submit a governance action. And once you submit a governance action, now ADA holders and then the DREP are supposed to vote to rectify the governance action. And then the threshold requirement is 67% approval, depending on the governance action, but it should be above what? 50%. Now, I've said this over and over. If the net change limit is not rectified, then it means that withdrawal has been blocked and nobody can take money from the Cardano treasury. And any withdrawal is deemed unconstitutional without approval from the community. Mind you, Cardano did this because of how decentralized the governance processes is. That is why in the face of decentralized governance, Cardano actually made it a point that they are going to Cardano actually make it a point that they are going to make sure that we have what we call what do you call it? We have a decision-making process that everybody can participate. So that is why we have that. So that is it. That is it. Now, if you look at the current treasury, as at March, we had almost about 1.7 billion ADA in the Cardano treasury. And then in the reserve, this reserve is 7.2 billion ADA. This one is the money that is used to pay rewards. Let's say those who stake their ADA and those stuff. That's the reward. So that's and then also brings in revenue as well. So the current state of the treasury, that is what we have. I don't know as it is now. We are in May. Now, the latest update on the net change limit. In recent time, there was a proposal on the on governance action that has to do with the net change limit. Now, what was set was 350 ADA, 350 million ADA for 2020, the last part of 2024 up to 2025. So within this 350 million ADA, budget for Project Catalyst will be in it, and everything is inside this 350 million ADA. Now, the latest update we have on it is that as at May 20, as at May 28, 20, as at 28th May 2025, this amount of money had been approved, okay, for the next year. So the next time we'll need to submit another, will be maybe 2025, 2026 period. That is what we'll look to submit. And then the block that rectify it, that's the block number over there. And then this complies with the Cardano constitution and also the intercept governance actions as well. So this is what we have. However, we must be aware that the approval also came at the backdrop of other governance action that was also competing. So there were other governance action that proposed 250 million ADA for the same period, which was not voted for. Okay, so this one was rejected. This one was rejected. Then there was also another one that also proposed 300 million ADA. That one was also not voted for. So the one that was approved was the 350 million ADA that was approved. So individual or various groups submitted their proposal. Now, what we have feedback from the community. So with this, there are a lot of arguments. Some people are saying that the amount of money is too much. Others are saying we should reduce it. And so we said that we have other D-Rep that voted against the 300 million ADA. One of the justification for it was that the size and its impact on long-term sustainability. So we have the Dave stake pool representing 23 million ADA voted no on 300 million ADA, advocating for lower limits to better align with sustainable goals. So to them, they feel like there should be lower amount of money. So maybe this D-Rep may go for maybe the 200 million, but you need the entire community to support for that to actualize. And then there are also other skeptics that also think that there is going to be an influence, which because it is going to be subjected to voting, if we have few individuals like Cardano Foundation, Intercept, they may be influencing governance action, and then D-Rep may not be having majority influence on governance action. But I have objection to this because yes, Cardano Foundation is there, Intercept is there. However, what is important is that we should have maximum community participation. If we have community participation, this will not be an issue. So that is why, as part of Cardano Governance Forum, we are also making sure that people become aware of governance issues, understand it, and then they feel the need why they should participate in governance processes. It's very, very important. Then there's this feedback that was I picked this because it was on the input output Twitter. Okay, they brought a lot of justification for the voting that has occurred, which makes us accepted this. And the conclusion, I agree with the conclusion that said that everything that has transpired is constitutional, which is true. But I brought this here because of some what I feel is a wrong interpretation of the Cardano Constitution. So it says that a net change limit has already been established for the 2025 period, and the Cardano Constitution does not dictate the process for adjusting a net change limit for a given period. However, there is nothing in the Constitution preventing multiple net change limit actions in a given period, and this does not prevent D-Ref from using subsequent info action to make such adjustment. Now, when it comes to constitutional interpretation, we have what we call the expressio unius es exclusio alterius. Now, this rule simply means when you are interpreting the constitution, it very well says that, like, if the constitution specifically says something, it actually excludes what it does not say. Sorry. So, what something just fall here. What this means is that if the constitution is saying one particular thing, then it excludes what it is not saying. So the rule says the rule that the expression of one subject or object or an idea is the exclusion of other subject, object, or idea by Clifton William. This was said in 1919, 31. Then by extension, if the constitution specifically mentions something, then it excludes what it does not mention. So that is the expression of one thing is the exclusion of the other. So you cannot say that because the Constitution of Cardano does not say or does not provide or dictate a process for adjustment. It's, if the Constitution doesn't dictate a process of adjustment, then it specifically excludes processes of adjustment. And if we want to have an adjustment process, we need to amend and put a process of adjustment there. Then it means that the Constitution doesn't envision a process of adjustment. Therefore, nobody should make a process of adjustment. That is simply what the Constitution is trying to dictate per the letter of the Constitution. Even if you go into the spirit of the Constitution and any canon of interpretation that you put on it, that is it. So I found it a bit challenging because it says that because it doesn't prevent it, so it means that we can do something like that. So that is my take personally. Because I feel that if the Constitution says something and it doesn't say another thing, then it is exclusive. It is excluding what it is not saying. That is what we call, that is interpretation, canons of constitution. That's some of the things that we use when we are interpreting constitutions. So I'm just trying to just share my opinion on this as well. Now let's look at the future. Yes, evolving. So it's expected that it is going to evolve the community and gross transaction fee become larger revenue source. Like I say proposals like the percentage based NCL code prevent long-term stability without requiring annual vote. These are things that people can consider, okay, in the future, because once the net change limit is set, okay, it's for a year and it makes it very stable. We all know that, oh, for this year, we are not going to do anything aside the 350 million that has been voted on. If you need anything extra, you have to wait for the following year. Then you can ASAP. If you need anything less, you need to wait for the following year and you submit a lesser budget, and then we come and have a say on it and then vote. The success of net change limit depends on robust community participation and transparent governance. Ongoing education, improve proposal clarity like we are doing. Clarity will be a key to maintaining trust and engagement. So like we are doing, it's very, very important that we educate people in the Cardano community and even in our ecosystem as well, for them to understand the DREPs in Africa, for everybody to understand what they need to participate in governance processes. That is what is very crucial. Every DREP has been set up for governance process, but you do the community a disservice if you hold your ADA and you don't delegate it. It's very, very a disservice. So in conclusion, I'll say that the net change limit is a pivotal mechanism in Cardano governance and monetary policy, balancing the need of ecosystem funding with price stability and long-term sustainability. The challenge in decision making is there's also a challenge in decision making. That's while the NCL has been effective in enabling controlling treasury withdrawal, debate over the size and governance processes highlights the challenge of decentralized decision making. Therefore, there's a need for increased community participation in governance. This point I have hammered on it over and over. It's very, very important. If you're not participating in governance, you are not helping Cardano community. you're not helping the entire ecosystem. So it's important for you to participate in governance. So if you have heard net change limit over the past years and the voting that has gone on, I think with this presentation, we all understand something about net change limit. Thank you very much, and I'll hand over to Kwayo for him to take over from here. If there are questions, I'll welcome it. Thank you. Kwayo, you are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sure. So thank you very much, Nat. And sorry for joining late. I was caught up in another meeting. I had to rush here to join. So please, if you have any question for Nat on the net chain limit, he's open to take some questions.
Let me see if maybe we have people on our social media trying to reach out or something.
Sure.
If there are questions from them. Okay.
Yeah.
I assume that this of us on the call, everything was clear, or did I confuse you with my presentation or something? If anything, just let's hear. If you also have a comment, it may not be a question. You have a comment that you want to add, that's fine.
Yeah, I think if you can't even talk, you can drop some comments in the message section so that I can read it out for our speaker to answer them. I think everyone is fine. So please hold on. Okay, Nat, someone is asking, please, can you recommend a DREP to delegate our ADA to?
Recommending a DREP. Yeah. There are a lot of DREPs, okay, but we have the WADA DREP, and then in my presentation, I mentioned the Dave DREP as well. But feel free, you can just delegate to WADA DREP. And then there are also, maybe we will do a session on DREP that you can know the numerous DREP that exist, but you should know a DREP that can represent your voice, and that is also crucial. A DREP that is very transparent to you and what's not. So the WADA DREP, I strongly, if you want me to recommend, I'll say the WADA DREP for you to just delegate. Feel free to delegate to that. But then nothing should stop you if you think you want to join the delegate to another DREP that best serve your interest, because every DREP has a purpose that has been defined, and you need to query that, and you need to have their DREP ID in order to be able to delegate to them. So feel free. There are a lot of DREPs, and you can delegate to any of them. I'm sure most of them will be very glad to have.
Sure. Godfred Abuaji, sorry. Was your question answered? Okay, let me share my screen. Nat, can you give me the permission to share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so thank you very much. My name is Kojo Boedu. I'm the Director for Communications for 8Block. and I'm sorry again for joining late. So I'll be taking you through Catalyst Horizon Annual Report 2025, and for today, our main focus will be on Europe and Africa. So I want to go straight to the. So now we are talking about Project Catalyst. So there is a report from Fund 1 to Fund 13, and they give a breakdown of whatever has been happening in the past till now. So Project Catalyst stands as a pioneer growth and governance platform fostering innovation within Cardano ecosystem. It empowers the global community to propose, fund, develop grassroots projects, challenging traditional funding models, and unlocking boundless entrepreneurial potentials. So with Project Catalyst, if you have a great idea, you can bring it on board and it will be voted on. And if a lot of people think your project or your idea is very good, you'll be funded so that it's going to help the community. So far from Fund 1, there's been an allocation of 293.3 million ADA allocated from Fund 1 to Fund 13. There's been a total allocation of 293.3 million. And from Fund 1, there has been over 2,091 funded projects. And the total votes from Fund 1 has been over 3 million votes. And also countries that have benefited from Project Catalyst, it's as of now, it's 114, and I know in the next fund, it's going to increase. Now, let's go straight to Africa, because in this presentation, we are going to focus on Africa and Europe. So with Africa, Africa is a key region for Project Catalyst, showcasing a vibrant ecosystem focused on community building, education, and leveraging blockchain for real-world solutions. This platform has empowered numerous projects in Africa, aiming to enhance financial accessibility, improve agricultural practices, and foster local talent. So here in Africa, allocated funds from Africa from Fund 1 has been over 11.2 million ADA, and funded projects in Africa. So far, the funded projects, 136 projects in Africa so far as of now, and I'm very sure in the next fund, because of the outreach and education that we do in Africa, it's going to increase. And also, out of the 136 projects funded, 90 completed. And that gives us a 66% completion rate. So I think back in school, if you get 50 plus, they said you've passed. So I think Africa is doing very well in our completion project. So if you look at this table, it gives you a chart on what exactly the funds we receive. So most of our funds are for community and community outreach. In Africa, most of the funds that are approved are more of projects that helps to educate, bring people on board, community outreach, education, events and marketing, development of tools, sustainability, real-world application. But in Africa, our main focus is mostly on community and outreach and education. Out of 100%, out of the 60s, out of the 90 completed projects, 45% is on community outreach and education. And now let's move on to the key African countries that have benefited from Project Catalyst. You could see Ghana, we are small. I mean, based on our population, we are very small, but in Africa, we have the most funded projects. That's 37 projects so far. And the next African country that has most projects is Ethiopia, which has 18 projects. Cameroon has 14 projects. South Africa has 12 projects. Nigeria, our neighbors, Nigeria has 11 projects so far. And Kenya also has 11. DR Congo also have 11 projects so far. Now let's move on to some notable projects driving impact in Africa. So one of the notable projects is AIDA to mobile money. That project was during Fund 11, sorry, and the one with the great idea requested for an amount of 107,800 ADA, and the aim was to enhance financial accessibility by linking ADA with mobile money. Also, we have the Box Locally numeric projects. So it was a device promoting Cardano adoption in areas with limited internet. You know, Africa, we have issues with our internet and all that. So the idea was to promote the adoption of Cardano in areas that have limited internet. Also, the last one is Cardano Africa Smart Farming DApp. So this was done in Tanzania, and the main aim of this app was to improve farm productivity in Tanzania by using AI, ML, robotics, and it was during Fund 9. Now let's move to Europe. So as I said earlier on, we are focusing on Africa and Europe. So with Europe, Europe stands out with the highest number of funded projects. Out of all the continents, Europe stands out with the highest number of projects with over funded projects. They have over 713 funded projects. That's a lot. In Africa, we just have 136. So we have a long way to catch them. And also, they've allocated about 991.8 million ADA for Europe. I mean, it's very obvious. Their the funded projects are way more than the ones in Africa. Africa, we are looking at 136. Europe is looking at 713 funded projects. And their completed projects is moving around 394 projects out of the 713 projects. They've completed over 394 projects. That amounts to 55% of the funded projects. If you compare this to Africa, I think Africa is doing well because our completed projects are around 66% and Europe is around 55%. But I mean, you could also argue that their numbers are way higher than us, but the results is what we need. And looking at it, out of 136 projects, Africa, we've completed 90 projects. That's 66%. In Europe, out of 713 projects, they've completed 394 projects. That's 55% completion rate. And looking at Africa, our community outreach is more, our funded project is more on community outreach and education. With Europe, their project is more on development tools and community outreach. So with Africa, we are more of getting people to join the ecosystem. Even though we do development tools and all that, it's not really significant as compared to our counterparts in Europe. So with Europe, they are really much into the development and tools. The second highest is the community and outreach. Education is also part, real-world applications, governance, etc. But there are two main funded projects are the development tools and the community outreach. Yeah. So let's look at some key European countries that have really benefited from their project catalyst. So we have United Kingdom, which has over 165 projects. Italy has over 67. So Ukraine has over 89 projects. Italy has over 67 projects. Germany, 62. Latvia has over 50 projects, funded projects. Bulgaria is also there, and Poland. So some notable projects that has been done in Europe is the Ledger Live integration. I told you they are more of the development tool. So this one, it was a secure asset management via Ledger hardware wallet. And this project were given a sum of $330,000, 330,000 ADA. And also another project that was funded, notable project that was funded in Europe is a satellite agriculture app. So with DigiFarm and MNKR for farming insights using the Cardano apps. And this project also requested an amount, that was in project Fund 12. They had over 750 ADA. They requested for it and they got it. And the last one is the Anastasia Lab DApp. So it was an open source production grade DApp tooling for Cardano. And they requested for an amount of 135,000 ADA, which has been approved. So now let's do, like, I think I've already done it, but let's do some comparison with both Africa and Europe. As I said earlier, in Africa, we focus more on the community outreach and education, while the Europe, they focus on development tools and community outreach. And you could see the gap in the funded projects and the completed projects. So in Europe, as I said earlier on, in Africa, we have over 136 funded projects, but with Europe, they have over 713 funded projects, and the completed projects are in Africa, we have 90, which is 66% completion rates. And with Europe, they have 394 completed projects out of the 713, which amounts 55%. So yeah, I mean, I would conclude by saying that looking at Africa, we focus more on community and outreach, and I think in the coming funds, because I've seen people really focusing more on the development tools and other the real world applications and all that. So I think in the future, Africa would, even though we are still going to focus on the community outreach and education, I think more of us are going to switch into the development tools, the governance, the smart contracts, the identity and security, etc. We are going to focus more on it. So I would like to finish on this note. And if you have any question, I'm open to answer them. Thank you. If you can't unmute and talk, you can just leave it in the comment section. So those on social media we are monitoring. You can leave a message under the post and we are going to read out your question. So I think everyone is fine. So if we can move on to the latest in Project Catalyst.
Yeah. We should let's continue and do that.
Sure. So in this section is an open discussion. If you have any question or any inputs, any subtraction, addition on Project Catalyst, what's maybe you've heard something and you want to know about it, and I think it's open for suggestions and new ideas. Maybe there are some things we don't even know that we can discuss about Project Catalyst. So Nat, I think you can open the floor by telling us something new about Project Catalyst.
Okay. So right now, the focus of Project Catalyst has to do with Fund 14. And from what is now that the net change limit has been voted on, I think in the coming days, we should be expecting clearer timelines as to when Fund 14 will be commencing. Because now the net change limit, that was the barrier or the reason why it has not started. Now it is no longer there because it has been voted on. So we should be expecting a clearer timeline to be announced in the coming days. So that is what I can say so far on it. And then those whose monies for fan 13, those who did the review work and then their monies have not been released, kindly create a ticket and then lodge your complaint. Be careful not to create multiple tickets because it will delay your response. And then definitely the team will reach out to you, and whatever instruction that they give you, try and then follow through. If you need any assistance, you can reach out and then we assist you on how to make sure you comply with the team's request for better and further particulars to manually verify you and then ensure that you are a human being and then you can take your reward. So basically, uh, this is what I have. If there's any other, everybody is free to share something.
Thank you very much, Nat. But I wanted to find out, we want to find out too. I think the barrier, the net chain barrier you spoke about. So now that it has been solved, does it mean that the whole, I think the was there an approval for Fund 14, 15, and 16, or just Fund 14?
So the net change limit is for 1 year from now to 2026. So now to 2026. So the project catalyst, if you look at it, is 3 months. And then yeah, if you look at the timeline, by 3 months, a funding round should end. So if it ends, we are now in June. I say June, we are now in May, and hopefully we are starting June next month. Next month is June, so meaning we are already in the middle of the year, which ends as with maybe 2 months to go. So let's assume that even this year alone, if you're able to launch Fund 14 in June, the next 3 months will end it. And then we'll have another 1 month for break for onboarding for another month. So meaning Fund 15 may even go into 2026. If the timeline is right, it will end somewhere around January. You get it. Aha. So definitely this fund is for Fund 14. Like I won't say this fund, this budget can cover for expenses for this year. So since Fund 14 is in this year, it will cover for it. And Fund 15, if it is also launched this year too, it can cover for it. You understand? Except that when it goes to next year, we also have another opportunity to submit another. Because before onboarding and disbursement, if it exceeds it, there's another opportunity to submit another net change limit. So that once it's approved, then any areas it comes to cover it. So definitely always and all the time, the funding will always come in time to fund the community activities. And mind you, the net change limit is not only about Project Catalyst. It also funds governance activity with Intercept and also other work individuals are doing that there's a need for Cardano to pay and whatnot, remuneration and whatnot. All is funded, all is within the 350 million ADA. And the fact that it has been approved does not necessarily mean that all should be spent depending on what we have to spend on. You understand? It doesn't also preclude that once a budget of 350 million ADA has been approved, then almost certainly we are supposed to spend all before the next year. Certainly not. Then there was also another thing that talks about the price action. If you look at fund Project Catalyst Fund 13, people submitted budget, and at that time, ADA price was around 0.3, 0.2, and they submitted their budget. Now, ADA price around 0.7, which is a substantial increase in their budget. There is also another conversation in the community that is also asking whether those who submitted their fund, should they be paid at the price, at the current market price, or they should be paid at the previous price when they submitted it, and then the balance, the difference of it should be submitted to the Cardano treasury. I belong to the school of thought that says they should be paid at the previous price. Because if you are doing a budget and the time is around, let's say, at the time ADA was 300 and ADA was 0.3, definitely use the 0.3 to do the calculation for everything. You understand? So if now ADA is 0.7, you should be paid with the 0.3 calculation. You understand? And then if there is any balance in the treasury, then we should submit it to the treasury. Now, what this does is that if it's submitted to the treasury, there will be more funds to sponsor or to fund other project catalysts. You understand? When you're doing the breakdown, you realize that the Horizon report is very rich, and it talks about ideas that got funded. There are also brilliant ideas that are also not able to get funded. You understand? So if a thing like this is implemented, I think some of these brilliant ideas that is in a pool, or let's say, let me use a cemetery of not funded. Okay, the cemetery of not funded projects. They are also there. Definitely, once there will be funds to assist some of these ideas, and then because sometimes you consider some of the ideas they are just unlucky. It's just not getting funded, but they could be brilliant ideas, and they may, even if we fund them, they may even come and give better value to the ecosystem. Who knows? You understand? So I support that school of thought. We are all free to have any school of thought that we want. If you want to go for people should be paid at the current market, that's fine. But it's all in our school of thoughts.
But okay, let me come from the different school of thoughts, right? So let's say at the time I was submitting my proposal, the ADA was 0.35. And when I received the funds, it became 0.2. Am I supposed to come back to say that, oh, because I budgeted for this, I'm supposed to get an increment?
Okay, so if it goes down.
Yes. So you see, I mean, we can't blame them if they say,
okay, I
mm,
still manage and then do your, because mostly when people are budgeting, what I know is that if let's say Cardano is trading at 0.2, people budget around roughly 0.3 because of price volatility. People don't really budget with the exact market price. There's always an average that covers for that. But then if it goes down, even when your project is funded, your money is disbursed in trenches, depending on the milestone that you have been able to meet, and then your monies will be released for subsequent milestone in that manner. Now, if the ADA price is going down, which we don't have a history of it, the history that we have is that almost invariably anytime there is disbursement, the ADA price is always ahead than what people actually budgeted for. And whatever the case, okay, people can still work with their budget, because there's always a budget, there's always a miscellaneous amount or contingencies that will cover for some of these gaps and whatnot. So it's not a bad idea, you understand? Because sometimes we are looking at it from let's say today that we are doing this discussion, we are looking at it from the price of either being 0.3 to maybe 0.7. Let's assume, what if this is going to continue for a while? What if the price of ADA hits $100 and it's not coming down, $1,000 and it's not coming down? What then becomes of it? You understand? So it gives you a very huge exponential increment. It gives a huge exponential increment. In any case, if it's just for the projects, you can just have it done.
so does anyone have any contribution, suggestion?
Okay, then since we have exhausted most of our discussion, let's I think today we've done like almost an hour, which is
I know. So sure. So thank you to everyone for joining this discussion. I mean, from Zoom and our social media platforms, that's on X and on YouTube. We really appreciate you joining. Please kindly note that we always meet every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, let me confirm the date. 2 weeks from now will be 13th. So on the 13th of June, we'll come back to discuss pressing issues on Cardano governance and chip in one or two things from Project Catalyst so that we can all be on the same page at every time. Thank you very much for joining today.